Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do my August and September wrap up. I read 4 books in August, 2 that I really liked and 2 that I did not like, and a DNF. So let's talk about them. The first book that I read in August was The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. I bought both books because I thought this was going to be a new favorite romantasy, and I did not like this book. And it started off so strong. Like I was hooked the very first chapter. Our main character, Lara, reminded me of the main character from Throne of Glass. I don't remember her name because I've only read one book, but it reminded me of her. And I thought, oh, she's going to be so cool. This is going to be such a good book. And I quickly disliked the book. In this book, we have 2 POVs. We have Lara and Aaron, and this is enemies to lovers. Lara is sent to Aaron's kingdom. It's an arranged marriage to continue the peace between her father's land and Aaron's land, but her father is using her to help take down Aaron's kingdom from within because they're trying to take over Aaron's bridge. This bridge is very important and connects different lands, and her father has convinced her that Aaron is a terrible king that like starves their people and does all these awful things. So she's going to Aaron's kingdom to get intel on the bridge and to help her father take over. And it is enemies to lovers because she thinks that he does all these terrible things, but it's just not really enemies to lovers. It's really not. It's if people are going to be enemies to lovers, they like actually need to like want to kill each other, and there needs to be a long period where they don't fall in love. They still fell in love like too fast. It was just kind of predictable. I will say the thing that I did like about this book was learning about the lands and the bridge. I wanted more of like that. I like learning about the world. It was like the love interest. It was the love that threw me off because I just didn't like it. But like I think that maybe if you haven't read a bunch of enemies to lovers books, if you're like newer to romantasy, then you might like this. I think there are just so many that you get kind of burnt out on enemies to lovers and just want like a different trope. There are more ways to fall in love than being enemies first. I gave it 2 stars. The next book I read was also a disappointment. I read Blue Indigo by Boris Vian. This is a translated classic, and I just did not realize what this was. This is a love story. It's a sad love story, but this is surrealism. It's very Alice in Wonderland-esque, and that threw me off. There were things that were happening in the book, and I was very confused. Like, the mice can talk, and they're like companions in the book, and they went like ice skating, and it was explaining things that were happening while they were ice skating, and I was so confused. Like, I could not picture what was going on. And I know that surrealism is supposed to be kind of like dreamlike and weird, but I think I just did not like that. In this book, we're following Cullen, who is this rich man who wants to fall in love. And he finds love in Chloe. But unfortunately, Chloe has a water lily that is growing in her lung. And it's sad. And it's so short, but for some reason this just felt very long to me. I love the cover, and something that I did like about this book, I've always felt that the woman is like the light of the house. Like, we bring life to a house. Not that like men can't, but I feel like the men are like protection and the stability and like the anchor and security in a house, but a woman brings life to a house. And that was happening in this book with the house. Like, the house would change depending on like the woman's health, and I thought that was really interesting. And I thought more about that after finishing the book. After finishing it, I was like, okay, let me break this book apart and see what I actually did enjoy about the book. And I liked that, like the house and Chloe, and seeing how much his whole world changed when she got sick. I like how it made that like literal in the book. So it's a strange book, not like the worst book ever, but I just did not enjoy the surrealism aspect to it. And that's just a personal like opinion. I think other people might like this, but I did read comments after reading this. I went on Goodreads and people were saying that maybe it's just how it was translated that kind of makes it confusing, because it was kind of confusing at times, but I don't know. I think I just would have liked if it had a little bit less weird stuff in it. But I gave it 2 stars. Shifting gears to something pretty dark, I finally read George Orwell's 1984. This is like one of the first books that I acquired when I started getting back into reading. A friend gave this to me and I started it and then just didn't continue. I guess I wasn't interested in it, but I've wanted to read this for so long and I'm so glad I did. This is a great book. I underlined lots of things. I dog-eared pages. I thought is a book that like everyone should read, but this book is darker than I thought it was going to be. In this book, we're following Winston, who lives in this negative utopia with Big Brother watching everything that they do. And this place that they live does not seem very nice at all. Everything is controlled. Things that they say, like they can get in trouble for like their dreams. Their like language, is being changed to something called newspeak. Like their language gets changed. The English language, things get taken out. They'll like combine some words or take words out of the English language to make it like more efficient, but it's also very controlling that like the English language keeps being changed. And it's all like to, for control. One of the first things that I highlighted is I think it might be on billboards in this world, or it's like this saying. I don't really remember. It shows up many times, but it's war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Basically, our protagonist sees that there are things wrong with this utopia and he wants to fight against it with like the rebellion. And he talks about how like scary it is that people will just believe what the party, that's what they're called, is like telling them, how they can change history, how lies are passed down in history and they become truth, and like who controls the past. It's so good. So he starts to kind of help the rebellion and things kind of go wrong for him and it gets pretty dark. And I thought it was very interesting, like the amount of control that the party has and how they will like crush human spirit and, any freedom, freedom of thought, freedom of just like your dreams, how like how everything is controlled. And the ending was very interesting too. Great book, but dark. It reminds me of Fahrenheit 451, but darker. Like the themes are a little bit darker in this book, but similar, like one man trying to go against, the government, the law that is doing wrong things and controlling people and what people consume, what people think, what people say, and what happens when someone tries to go against the grain like that. So I finally read this. So glad I did. Great book. I gave it 4.5 stars. There was a portion of this book that did lag for me that I was kind of hoping would speed up. And that's just a personal preference. I kind of like fast-paced books, and there was just a lull in here. So that's why I took it down half a star. The last book that I read in August was All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Very good book. I actually listened to this and I had a hard time listening to this. I felt like every time I turned it on, like to listen to it, I would only listen for like 5 minutes and then stop. So I listened to this very choppy and I wish I would have just spent time and like listened for long periods of time. My reading experience would have been better. This is about a girl who lives in Paris with her father. He works at a museum, and this is like at the start of World War II. And a German boy, an orphan, we're following both of them. The Nazis are taking over Paris, and her father and herself, they flee Paris to go live with her uncle and aunt. And they could be carrying like the most precious gem in the museum. We don't really know, but they could have that in their possession. And she's blind. So that is a whole part of the book where she's like comfortable in Paris. She has her routine and she has to go to this new area by the water with her uncle and aunt, and it's still like dangerous there, but not as dangerous because they're like in hiding there. And she has to like learn how to walk around the house, how to get around the town while being blind. And then we're following a German boy who he's very smart. He wants to invent things, I believe. I think that's what he wanted to be, an inventor. But since he's an orphan, like that's not going to happen for him. He's going to go and join the army. While he's in training, he's fixing things and he becomes kind of an expert in like fixing radios and transmitters and all this new equipment. And he kind of becomes like the go-to person for that. And he is trying to help the Nazis track down like the resistance. And their stories intertwine. There's also this high-ranking German official who's looking for the gem that could be in her father's possession. So that's a part of the story too. And all of this intertwines, their stories intertwine the further we kind of get in the book. And it's really good and sad. And I really enjoyed this. I think I could have just had a better listening experience, and that's my fault. We really like Marie Laure. That's the blind girl in this book. She's like helping the resistance as much as she can. She's like, we really like her. And I don't want to say anything else about this. Like, I think I said enough, but I really like books set in this time, like World War II. I've always been interested in this time period. So I liked that aspect, like seeing how like Paris was taken over by the Nazis, like seeing the transition of like everything being normal and like their normal life in Paris, and then like where it ended up and how everything changed. So it's a good book. I gave it 4 stars. I have not seen the show or movie. I don't know if it's a show or a movie, but I haven't seen the adaptation yet. We'll see if I don't know if I'm dying to watch it. I kind of like how I envisioned this in my mind, but good book. The 2 books that I DNF'd in August were Ask the Bones, a scary story by a few different authors. I just didn't realize this is a young adult, or not even young adult. This is a middle grade. I didn't realize this is a middle grade book, and I probably should have known, but I don't know. I didn't know, and I started it and then just thought I don't really want to spend time on this. I would rather read another book, and I got this for like 99 cents at a Goodwill. But like I liked the cover and I thought, oh, little short stories, that would be cute. And then they just weren't really scary at all because it's middle grade. So I stopped reading it. And then I also DNF'd A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, which hurts because I haven't read a Paul Tremblay before. I wanted to read this as my first, and the cover is really good and it seems really cool. But something in this book that happens to one of the girls, where there are 2 sisters, the older one is the one that like stuff is happening to her. Something that happened to her, something just didn't sit right with me, kind of made me feel I didn't want to continue after reading that. So I'm just it's a soft DNF. This is actually a book I would like to see what happens. Like I'd like to look it up so I know. I like want to read it, but that part of the book made me uncomfortable and I did not want to continue for that reason. We'll see. We'll see if I pick it up later on. Maybe I'm just overly sensitive to that right now, but okay, let's move on to September. The first book that I read in September is a reread. I finished it in September, and that is The Giver by Louis Leray. I think that's how you say the name. I read this with my students last year during the school year, and I didn't get a chance to finish it. So I finished this in September. This book is very dear to my heart because this is the first book that showed me what reading is like, how you can be transported to a whole other world, how you can like see things, how you can imagine a world when you're reading. It just blew my mind. This book blew my mind when I was younger and I read it, And I knew that like I had to pick a book to read to my students. And I was like, I want to read to them the first book that opened my eyes to the world of reading. And I'll probably reread this more throughout the years. It's such a good book. It's 5 stars, obviously. In this world, people can only see in black and white. There's lots of rules. People have different like jobs that they're assigned, and well, there are many other things that are different to our world, but I don't want to like spoil any of them. But we're following a boy who has been chosen to be the next receiver, the receiver of memories. There's one person in this place that has all the memories of like the past, and he has to hold on to all those memories, and he gives counsel to like the leaders there whenever they have like a hard decision to make. Since he has the history in his mind, he can like help them figure out what to do. But he has to give all those memories to a person, and that doesn't happen very often. And our protagonist has been chosen, and the giver is the old man who gives all of these memories to him. It's a slow process, it's painful. And through this process, Jonas is learning the difference between like what our world is like and their world, and why things are the way they are, and sad things that happen in their world. His eyes are open to what is wrong with their world. It's so like so good, so good. And I love all of the books in this series. I'm actually considering reading the next one because when I read this again, I was remembering things in the second book, and I was like, "Oh, I loved the second and the third book. I think there might actually be a fourth. I need to look that up. I've read the first, second, and third, and I love them all. So this is such a good book. If you haven't read it, it's also very short. This is definitely a book that like I want to read to my daughter. Like my mom read this to me, and it's just so good. 5 stars. I can't say anything else about it. Then I read Dracula, which I do not have a physical copy of, but I'll put a picture. I've actually changed the edition that I want. There are 2 editions in the signature classics editions that I'm looking at. I do want a physical copy because I did really enjoy that book. I definitely want to do a reread of Dracula because I listened to it, and I want to do an immersion read of Dracula because I want to absorb the story more. But it's so interesting reading the book because there are like movies that are based off of Dracula, but there are movies that I feel like are portions of Dracula. Like there's a movie where they're like in the ship and Dracula's on the ship, and that's like a part of the Dracula book. And then the one that just recently came out, I can't remember what it's called, but that helped me like visualize Dracula. And then there are like characters that have been a part of other movies. It's very interesting seeing all of these like movies and how they're all like tied into the book. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my brain. I knew the gist of Dracula, like, you know, he's a vampire. But and I've seen portions of some movies that are based off of Dracula, but not like I haven't seen like a Dracula movie. So I was really interested to read the book and like learn the full story. But we're following a few different characters, but we're starting with Jonathan, who is traveling to Transylvania to sell land to the Count Dracula in London, and because he's works for a company where they like sell property. And when he gets there, he notices weird things about the Count, and like it seems like no one works there in this like really big, you know, mansion or whatever. And then he realizes that he can't leave. And then we're also following perspectives of some other characters that are affected by the Count in different ways, and these like group of people that are trying to take down the Count. It's so interesting, and it was a classic I really enjoyed. It was very like gripping. Sometimes some classics can like be like really good and then they get like really boring, or they're just boring the whole time, but this one was actually exciting. And there was like a little portion of the book that I wish had been a little bit faster paced for me, but I like fast paced books. So for other people that may not be the case at all, but just, for me. But I do want to buy a physical copy so I can display it, and I do want to reread it. Maybe like next year around this time again I'll reread it, but recommend. It was really good. Next I read Anatomy, a Love Story by Diana Schwartz. I won't talk too much about this one. This is a YA romance. I did not really like it. Thankfully, it was short. We're following our protagonist who wants to become a surgeon, and she has to kind of train herself because they won't let her into the school. But if she passes the test after training herself, then she can join the school. And if she doesn't, then the headmaster or whatever is never going to let women try to become surgeon. And she does fall in love with the grave digger that is helping her get these bodies, so she can work on them. There is a little bit of a mystery aspect to this that she kind of uncovers, which was interesting. I did enjoy the end, but I think just as a whole, the book was just okay. I gave it 2.5 stars. It was fine. Next, I read Twilight. I have all of the books. I enjoyed listening to this. I started off by like physically reading it and then switched to the audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, these books are silly and very dramatic, and they're just like the movies. The movies really did the books justice. I enjoyed reading it for the fall vibes. She lives in Seattle. Seattle, I think, yeah. Where she lives, it's all rainy in Washington, and I kind of like the dramaticness of this book. It was like I got to watch the movie, but just for a longer period of time. So just like an hour and a half. Like whenever I kind of just felt like listening to something that was super easy that I can like picture so clearly, I would listen to the audiobook. I am actually continuing with the series. I just think they're fun. These are fun books that are so easy to read, and they may not hold any nostalgia for me because I didn't read these when I was younger, but I'm still enjoying them, and they're just fun. And I think everyone knows what Twilight is about, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I did read this. Next, I read Just Like Home by Sarah Gilly. I do not have this book physically. I read it digitally, and I really liked this book. This is not your typical haunted house story, which is what I thought it was. This is like a literary horror. It's very sad. I talked about it a lot in my reading vlog. I enjoyed it a lot. I kind of almost wish I had a physical copy because of some quotes that I like highlighted on my Kindle. I didn't expect to like it this much. I thought it was just going to be like a spooky haunted house, and it was not that. But I enjoyed this book a lot. If you're looking for a literary horror that's sad and has like themes of like difficult family dynamics, then I would recommend this book. Next, I read Rouge by Mona Awad. I wanted to read this because I know it's like the one that I feel like no one really likes, and I was most interested with reading this one. I read this digitally and I really enjoyed it. This is a very weird, fever dreamish book, which I know like all of her books kind of are. I want to read Bunny so bad. And I also talked about this in my reading vlog. This book covers themes about the beauty industry and mother-daughter relationships, insecurities in yourself, what people will do for beauty. I thought it was very interesting. I loved the ending. The ending was so good. It really wrapped up the book really well. And if you do read this, I do recommend reading the author's notes and the Q&A at the end of the book. The Q&A is really good because, since it's a fever dreamish kind of book, some stuff is unclear to me anyway. I had questions and I wanted them answered, and I liked the Q&A at the end. But I gave it 3.5 stars, and I'm really curious to read more of Mona Awad's books. Last two, I did a reread of And Then I Woke Up by Malcolm Devlin. It's a very good short horror. This is a post-apocalyptic book about a disease that is affecting quite a few people, and it's narrative. People believe what they're seeing is true when it's not. And there are cured people that have been taken out of the narrative. Now they know the truth, and we're following our protagonist who is now cured from the narrative, and he is helping a woman who's in this facility with him where the cured are, and he's going to help her find her companions, like her group, that are still in the narrative. They still have the disease, but she wants to just kind of check up on them. It's a great book. The themes in this book are so good, and I'll probably reread this again, especially like it's so short. I love the cover. I love the themes. Great book. It's obviously a 5-star for me. Okay, I thought I had another book to talk about. I don't. So those are all the books I read in August and September. It was a good 2 months of reading. October's going great. If you enjoy listening to me talk about books, I have vlogs as well where I have read like my October books. I'm vlogging me reading those books. So feel free to watch some of those videos. I also have a vlog channel and a journaling channel if you are interested in seeing more content that I create. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you don't know what to comment below, you can comment a rose emoji for rouge. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.